you. I just got a text from Tom Kennedy saying he will not be able to attend
Okay,
tonight.
thanks for letting me know. Yes, as soon as Ahmed gets here, we'll have a quorum, so that'll be good. Sorry, I'm late.
Or
Hi, I'm Dennis.
Dennis. Oh, nice to meet you, Dennis.
And your first name?
Ahmed.
Nice to meet
Hey,
you.
Lucy.
Hey, how are you? Hi, Abby Branch. I've met you
Oh,
before. Yeah,
yeah,
Ward
nice.
Branch. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We went to school together, to Alpine High School.
We did.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
okay.
class of 91.
Cool. Nice to see you again. Are we waiting for anyone else?
I think that's pretty much it. He's going to be here tonight.
Okay. Okay, can we go ahead and call it to order then?
Yes. please.
Okay. I'd like to go ahead and call this Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Time is what, 5:34? 5:38, sorry. Okay, this is my first time, so you got to tell me what is the order of events. What do we have
So
to do?
next we'll just determine that there is a quorum. There is a quorum present with 4 members. The notice for this meeting was posted at 5 PM on November 17th, 2021.
Okay,
So we can go ahead and move to citizen comments.
okay, then that's what we'll do. Let's go ahead and move to citizen comments. If anyone has anything they'd like to say regarding this permit, please come up here.
Which permit are you talking about? Were there several?
So we do have item number 6 is a public hearing for a special use permit.
Uh-huh,
And so that's pretty much the only item on the agenda, and it's going to be for applicant Joseph R. Della to establish an outdoor event venue that has an unusual site development featuring unique operating characteristics, which would include serving and sale of alcohol by vendors and outside sales of music. Would any of y'all like to make a comment tonight? They're limited to 3 minutes each.
3 minutes.
If you step up to the podium, please, and state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Mary Ann Lujan. My address is 1102 West Avenue I. And I am the mother of Joseph R. De La O Jr., the property owner on 105 East Murphy Street. And I would just like to say that, you know, we want to have this outdoor event venue for different purposes, you know, just to bring our community together, to bring people from the outside. And I would really like to see Murphy Street, historic Murphy Street grow. I want to, you know, stay very positive, and I want to see good things on Murphy Street, and it's for overall Alpine.
mhm.
Thank you.
Anybody else would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, I had some concerns about it.
Okay, if you can go ahead and approach us to the podium and state your name and address.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Lester, and I live at 106 East Murphy Street. Mostly my main concern is if the alcohol permit does go through for this event, is that I remember back when the Ritchie Saloon was there on that street, that there were a few incidents where, like right before they would close for the night during the week, where it appeared like maybe like some couples or some people, they had a little too much to drink. And then they start getting in like a big argument with each other, to where it caused like a real big scene, to where I could hear it inside my bedroom in my house. And it sounded like it was escalating to where it could get like real violent. So that's just that's the biggest concern I have about it, is that if alcohol is able to be sold at these outdoor events, is that there might be more incidents like that. And then it could create like a really bad incident, just violent where, like maybe there's a big fight that breaks out and it could maybe traumatize neighbors, maybe that they're trying to sleep for the night or just, and then like my mother, this past event, the Harvest Festival, she was concerned maybe about, after it had ended, that people would maybe want to steal stuff out of her yard. And she told me like she was real anxious that night, that evening, after it had ended.
Mhm.
But I mean, as other than that, I mean, I'm all for, Alpine continuing to, have events where people can get together and, be able to, have positive experiences for the town. But I just, that's just the biggest worry for me is I don't want to, have like violent incidents happen like had happened before in the past with the Ritchie Saloon when it was in business thank you.
If I may ask, can I ask questions or at this point? Or after they're done?
Yeah, you can go.
Is that normal?
I think so. I mean, usually, I think on number 6 or seven, sorry, on 7, on action items.
That's all
Yeah,
right.
it might be
That's
better
fine.
to actually wait.
Okay.
That's when we do discuss.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other comments?
No, that's all for this evening. I didn't receive anything by mail or email. Oh, I'm sorry, we had one more comment. If you could please push one here.
My name is Patricia Laffarelle and I live at 106 East Murphy. I'm right across the street from where Mary Ann holds her events. And I do appreciate that she does want to help the community come together. But having this alcohol sale, how is it going to be controlled? And, if people are overserved, is Mary Ann going to be responsible for that? Is there going to be insurance for that? I don't know how it's controlled as far as the sale of alcohol at events here in Alpine. So my concern is that things could get out of hand. And of course, I do live across the street. People do sit in my yard when these events happen. But so far, nothing has happened because there is no alcohol. If they do bring alcohol, they bring it on their own and they're responsible for it. So I don't know how this is going to be worked out if she does sell alcohol at these events. And will there be a police presence? These are things that I don't know how Alpine controls these events with alcohol. So I am concerned that there could be vandalism or somebody could get hurt. Who knows if somebody leaves that event and gets in an accident. So these are my concerns. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate your input. Okay, any others?
I
That's all.
received none by mail or email or otherwise.
Okay, thank you. So then we will close out citizen comments and we'll go to the approval of the minutes. Have the members looked over the previous minutes?
Move that we approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor of passing the minutes from the previous meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Approve the minutes. Any discussions before we get into this? No? Okay. Hearing. So should we go on down to 7, the action items, or?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate since everybody already commented on that hearing.
Okay, could you go ahead and read that then, please?
On number 7, we
Yes,
have approve a recommendation to city council that a conditional use permit be issued to allow applicant Joseph R. Dela to establish an outdoor event venue that has unusual site development featuring unique operating characteristics, which would include the serving and sale of alcohol by vendors and outside sales and music. The property in question is located at 105 East Murphy Street. Record property owner is Joseph R. Dela Jr.
okay, thank you. Now that we've read the action item, first we ask for a motion and then a discussion, or should we?
Yes,
Okay,
Motion for discussion. Is that?
it doesn't have to be for discussion. It could be to approve or
we can go, what we'll do is we'll go for a motion to approve, and then after we get a second, then we can go to discussion. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve this?
Make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to Joseph R. Dela.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So now let's open up the floor to any discussions. Would any of the board members like to go open up any questions you might have about this?
I have a question. What are the hours of the proposed outdoor event venue? Hours and like days of operation?
It was 24 hours. I think it's on the.
Oh, it is. Okay, sorry. I
explanation.
didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, she didn't have a curfew set times. I think she was doing 24 hours.
Okay.
And I'd like to just point out that they would still need to conform with TABC, any TABC requirements, which would include any temporary permits. They'd have to obtain that before they'd be able to sell alcohol. And we wouldn't require a special use permit be issued aside from this one, other than that temporary permit, unless it was like a standing establishment that's sold continuously. Then they would require a separate permanent TABC license or permit, and basically they would need at that point to get another special use permit, because that's not the type of special use permit this is for.
Right. Okay.
And are there other establishments that are also using alcohol in that area?
Well, city council just approved sale of the alley to a brewery about a block away. The brewery, Chisos Brewing Company, still actually need to apply for a special use permit in order to obtain their license, so they'll have to go through this process. But they're in the planning stages currently, and so y'all will be considering that going forward, but it's a potential one that will come up soon.
And we have the one that went through planning and zoning several weeks ago, Petit Bijou.
Yes, that
That one
one
is,
is
and
already
that one was
active.
approved.
Right.
And that's on
There
Murphy
are-
Street?
That's on Murphy Street.
I
Yes.
see.
About a half a block, well, maybe a full block to the west of where this application is.
I see. But they are not open for business yet?
She's serving wine
Yeah.
there, I think,
Yeah, she serves wine there.
but not completely open.
I see.
Obviously, the Ritchie was mentioned as an example that has served alcohol in the block, but there are some complaints about that, and I think that's important to take note of. It's my understanding that the lot is zoned commercial 1, so it is properly zoned for business purpose. I'm trying to place it in my mind. Is that where the farmer's market takes place?
Yes, just right next to it.
Right.
I mean, it's in the same, it's adjacent to it.
Okay, so one lot further west from the
Between
market.
Renco and the farmer's market.
All right,
Right.
and immediately south of the railroad park. Okay. Which obviously that's a park that is used by families at times.
And there have been many events held at this particular place before.
How many, if I may ask, how many events have been held so far on this venue?
So far, we've had like 5 events.
Mhm.
And we've celebrated, this is says it's Septiembre, 5 de Mayo, I celebrated the Harvest Festival.
Excuse me.
We did, during the Viva Big Band, we had some music out there and, have vendors, and it just brings families together, and it's not always about alcohol.
And what were the times of these venues?
The
From what
latest time, probably 11 PM.
Is when they,
That's when the
Ended?
music, it kind of,
I see. And
but it begins, usually the event begins at 10, vendors open up at 10 AM. And then, we usually have, depends what the event is, and then we have a parade. People follow to Murphy Street, and, we have our entertainment, like folklorico dancers and, different car shows, stuff like that, and then music. Always have music.
and of these 5 events, how many of them had alcohol?
None?
None of them?
No. There was, the people brought their own alcohol, but we didn't sell alcohol.
I see. Were there
So
any,
it's not, go ahead, sorry.
were there any issues
No.
that
no
arose from
issues at
people
all.
having
I have
alcohol?
not had any issues at all.
Did you have any complaints from people living in that area regarding the alcohol?
No complaints at all. Nobody came up to me to complain about anything.
Any need for the police?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
So the 5 events you've had so far, what was your average attendance per event?
I'm gonna say at least on the first Cinco de Mayo that I had there, I'm gonna say there was probably at least 200 people.
200 people. Was that the largest you've had?
I think so, but I'm not for sure, like, I didn't do a head count.
But
There was several, we had a really good turnout.
let me see.
And then, well, like this last event that I had, the Harvest Festival, we didn't have as many people. We had a street dance and we had music till 10 o'clock, but there was, of course, the attendance was very low.
And you're familiar with this, the 200 people that they had at the event, is the land big enough for those 200 people, or was it congested?
They blocked off between 5th and 4th Street.
Uh-huh.
So they had plenty of room for that many people. The main concern would be parking. I mean,
Mhm.
on Murphy Street, we have a big problem with parking in every direction. So I think going forward with any development with Chisos Brewery, if it does happen or anything else, we really need to consider that because of the flow of traffic with the railroad and people driving down that way to get across railroad. The parking is a big problem for that side of the town right now.
So in relation to the 5 events that have been held so far, were there any issues regarding parking?
Well, they park in other people's lots. I mean, they park in front of this family's home and all along the land that's going to be developed into Chisos, which isn't developed yet, but eventually will be developed. And then they take up the railroad parking as well,
Mhm.
but nobody's complained about it. But once we start developing, people aren't going to allow them to park on their land anymore because they're going to develop on it. So those empty lots are going to be eventually buildings. And so for that, keeping that in mind, going forward with whatever they decide, parking is going to be a problem on Murphy Street. It's a problem right now on where Petit Bijou is because people drive down that road to get to the railroad and you have people parked on the street and on the other side of the street, and it turns into one lane. You have 2 cars trying to pass right there. If the railroad's there, they drive crazy because they're trying to pass. So I'm just more concerned about safety when it comes to parking on Murphy Street.
So regarding, again, back to the 5 events that have been held so far, there wasn't a real issue regarding parking or congestion.
No, they have used other people's properties to park. They're not parking on the road.
I see. And were there any complaints from people in that area about people parking on their
Not that I've
lawns
heard
or
about.
anything like that?
We'd have to find out from PD
I see.
because it wouldn't come to my department. That would be a police department.
But I
think
think
that-
I heard citizen Lafayette say that there were people in your yard and
Yes, I
and you
mean,
were
you know,
concerned about that.
the kids, well, it was mainly kids in the yard, you know, they're on my steps and stuff, which I don't mind because alcohol wasn't served. But I think you're stepping it up a little bit on the level when alcohol is gonna be served. People are not gonna be as conscientious about where they sit or what they do. And I think it just raises the risk of something happening when alcohol is gonna be served. As far as all the other events, nothing has happened. I don't mind the kids, and I really don't have a beautiful lawn. So I don't mind that the kids are running around there and everything in the front. Because I think it's a nice thing that Marianne is doing, you know, to have events for kids and adults, you know, and then they have the Spanish dancers and stuff like that. So it is a nice venue, but the alcohol is of concern to me. When people do get a little bit crazy, what is gonna happen, and will police presence be there?
Okay, if I may follow up with Gio, you or anyone who may have the answer to this. What is the city regulations regarding alcohol at outdoor venues and within the city limits?
There's really not too much, as long as they have a special use permit approved, you could basically sell alcohol anywhere. There's not an ordinance really stopping it as far as, you know, regulating where it can and cannot be sold. However, you know, the one thing that does need to be approved is if it is a permanent license, which generally they will be, that would need to be approved by special use permit by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Well, they'd make that recommendation to council, and then it would need to be approved by city council before they can get a permit or license issued.
Mhm.
It's different for, like I said, the temporary ones though. So basically a temporary one, they would just need to conform to whatever TABC requirements are basically, they'd have to conform to TABC's rules and regulations. And then as long as they're okay to serve with TABC, they're okay to serve temporarily for us as well. The PD does request that you notify them, but there's no other regulations other than that. So at this point, even if this were to get approved, anytime that there would be alcohol out there, they would need to get that approval from TABC first on a case-by-case basis, and it wouldn't be a long-term permit. It would
And I'm
just be-
sorry, what does that stand for?
Texas alcohol.
The special use permit?
CBC or whatever you said, what is
TABC
that?
is the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission.
Okay. What about Alpine's rules about closing of bars at a certain time, or is there one?
I'd have to look it up.
Okay. And along that line, again, regarding to outdoor venues that have alcohol, is there city regulations regarding the presence of the police? Like, does the venue owner liable for having police presence there, or will the police be there just as a part of their duty, or?
So generally, you know, for the last festival, for example, Marianne closed a portion of the street, in which case she had to contact the PD to do. So the PD were aware, and I'm more than sure that they increased the presence around that event that night. So definitely, if you're closing the street, you'd have to get it approved by PD, period. But other than that, you know, outdoor event venues are not the norm here. We don't currently have any specific regulations or restrictions in place regarding outdoor event venues. It might be good, you know, for us to look at putting some things in place in the future. But to my knowledge, we don't really have any regulations or restrictions.
I mean, at parks, you're not allowed to have them, but that's different. 'Cause it's a state park. That's only outside venue we really have here. Is that as a city park?
Another concern that I would have if I were a close neighbor is noise. Because people do like to have a good time, especially if they're drinking. So yeah, I would hope that there would be some kind of regulation with regard to how late things can go by city council. And we have a noise ordinance, so that is an outlet for neighbors to bring a complaint through the Alpine Police Department if it's so loud that it's bothering you and keeping you from sleeping. That's a real thing. So that, that should be taken into consideration by city council as well, in my opinion. And again, there should be time limits because of that.
Well, have there been issues regarding noise with the last 5 events? Were there complaints from
There
that you know
haven't
of?
been any
To my
events that went till
knowledge,
3 a.m.
Mhm.
is my impression. What was the latest that any of these outdoor events lasted?
I think she said
Probably
11
midnight.
midnight.
Midnight, yeah.
Yeah.
I
That-
never had a complaint. Nobody came to me to complain
Yeah.
about anything. Everything was under control. I'm there. I'm the one that puts the events together. And, I'm monitoring. I walk around and,
I have passed by there and I have been at some of the events and I have seen the police.
yeah, they drive
They-
around.
They drive around.
Yeah,
But it's never gotten out of hand. It's not like, it's a bar where people are just getting drunk. They go sit down and relax or go dance. When I have the street dance at night,
Mhm.
they bring their own chairs, they bring children. So it's not an event just to go get drunk.
Sure, no, I understand. I'm just trying to get a,
Yeah,
idea
but,
of the past
and
history.
I understand where they're coming from,
Mm.
because that's their residence. But so where do we stand there on Murphy, with Hotel Richie is gonna open up again,
Mhm. Is it?
here pretty soon, so what's gonna happen?
Mhm.
I don't have my events every weekend and if I do want it open like, if I have food trucks, but of course you've gotta have, okay, let's just say my food truck is open till 2 a.m. Or 3, but you're not gonna have all this loud noise there or music, there's or have, bright lights or anything like that.
Mhm.
You're gonna respect the people around you.
All right. So you haven't had any issues in the past with your
I've
5
never
events?
had an issue, but, I wanna make sure that I'm not, cause I'm planning to have the Cinco de Mayo event, the
Mhm.
outdoor event. People like to just go and sit down and they enjoy it there on Murphy Street.
So,
But so if,
Did you say you have not had any alcohol at any event so far?
no alcohol. If people bring their own, they bring it, but I've never sold alcohol at any of my events. But they did, for the Harvest Festival, I did have, someone ask me if they could sell alcohol because they did have their license, which was, Old Bingo. He said, can we sell alcohol? But then I contacted Jessica and, Gio, and I said, cause I don't know, I've never had to deal with alcohol, so I wanna make sure, and so I told Lynette, I said, you need to contact the city and Jessica to see what you have to do and what's allowed.
what happened?
So once
They
they,
didn't sell it,
once they contacted us, we contacted TABC and confirmed that the permit that they had wasn't sufficient, and that they would have to go through a separate temporary application process, which you have to do well in advance, like, I don't know, maybe
yeah,
10
it
days.
takes, it's not just, okay, we're gonna sell alcohol.
Okay,
Yeah, it's the what is it?
TABC.
TABC.
okay. If I may ask y'all, since you live there, the past 5 events that were held, did you experience any issues? Not that you anticipate, but were there any issues that you have experienced?
No vandalism or anything like that. I think pretty much everybody's respectful of where I live. The music is real loud, but actually I can't be in my living room,
Mhm.
the front part of my home when they do have these events because it's just too loud.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to hear the TV if I sat in my living room. And I need to do some construction in my home personally, but so it's an adobe home, so we close those doors off and we're in the back part of the home.
Mhm.
But I haven't had any vandalism or anything like that.
Okay,
But of course, like Mary Ann said, she's never sold alcohol before.
I
So
understand.
this would be a new experience. And I don't know if it does happen, maybe it could be on a temporary basis, see how it plays out when it is sold, and see what happens.
I understand. I'm just trying to get background. So you said that and understandably, the noise would be loud because it is live music.
Yes,
But the music, I presume, ended like around midnight.
yes,
And after that, was everything fine?
yes, nothing happened. There was nothing to report. I mean, people went home and Mary Ann does pick up after the events.
Mhm.
If, say people leave trash and stuff like that. She is very good about going around and making sure things are picked up and back to normal.
Okay, that's good.
And there wasn't, with those events, there wasn't any like violent, like issues like I heard a few times at the Ritchie Saloon.
Mhm.
But I think that was just mainly because there had been no alcohol served and the incidents that happened at the Ritchie Saloon, the people that did get in a really big loud argument that looked like it was gonna turn violent, they looked like they were pretty intoxicated when it happened.
Sure. Okay. Well, I don't know anything about it, those incidents at the Ritchie but I'd like to keep it focused on this. How about issues regarding parking? Did you have any issues in the past of people unwantedly parking on your front lawn or anything like that?
No, my property line doesn't go far into the street. There is a pretty big area. The farmer's market uses it on Saturday and everything else. And it is open parking because it's not my property.
Mhm.
So no, I haven't had any issues on that. And the parking doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that they park in front of my home. I do rent the building next door. And Pauline Hernandez has a pottery studio there.
Mhm.
She hasn't complained to me as far as the parking or anything like that. So, and Mary Ann does check with me. If she needs to use some of my property, she does check with me to make sure that it's all right and everything.
Okay, so you haven't had any issues regarding that?
No.
Okay, and you,
I think it's been a positive thing. I think Mary Ann wants to be able to have vendors there, on a monthly basis, maybe. I don't know if you lived here when they had vendors down West Murphy, when it used to be the wool and mohair, before Bob Ward purchased that building. And it was kind of a nice thing because the community kind of came together every Saturday and people would, shop for crafts, and some people had garage sales there. And I think it would be a nice thing for Alpine.
okay, thank you.
I do have another question for the applicant. Do you foresee any permanent structures like a stage or tables that will be there all the time? Or is it always going to be up and down when there's an event?
Well,
You'll
probably
be-
in the future, to have a permanent stage there, but it's gonna be way later down the road. Right now, I'm just, I started with these events, so I'm just gonna take it, one step at a time and then go from there. But usually when I have, like, let's just say the Cinco de Mayo's coming up. So I do get my permit or a permission from the city to do a street closure. Because on the street, that's where I set up my or the band, whoever's gonna play. And on the street, that's where they do the entertainment. And inside, I have the vendors, so that's where that keeps the vendors and the entertainment separated.
And the closure is
And it's
basically
just
one.
because we have a street dance, so it gives us a bigger space for the people to be just inside between 5th and 4th Street.
Okay.
So that keeps us all in one place when I do have the event.
So I have a question too. So there isn't an expectation that this would be a daily
No.
event or a weekend. It's just for special
It's for a
events.
special, you know, I have Cinco de Mayo and now we do this Fiesta 1888 is gonna be our first event and we're planning that in August, but that's gonna be a big event. But if we're gonna have an issue, well, I have to make a stop. I
Right.
mean, like cancel my
Mhm.
plans
And those are.
because
yeah.
this Fiesta 1888, it's gonna be a pretty big event.
And so those are important, I guess, to travel and tourism and
Yes.
for the city of Alpine.
And
The event would
it's a
also,
free
um,
event.
Be, excuse me, sponsored by the city through Hot Flags.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that-
it'll be,
So,
it'll be a lot of tourism.
If the music, I mean, the music, it's gonna be 2 bands, so
Okay.
it's gonna be loud. So then, you know, then we have to go to plan B if we
Right.
cannot have it there. But it's gonna be, it's free to everybody, you know, they bring their own chairs, they sit down and enjoy the music, dance, there, you know, they food, whatever vendors come in.
Right. So,
Because in reality, that's a time, they can bring their children to the event. I mean, because there's not really much in Alpine to do.
right.
I mean, they're not gonna take their kids to the bars. So
Right.
this is a place where they can enjoy throughout the day. At nighttime, they can still bring their children. And, you know, they have because I have stuff for the children. The vendors that come, they bring jump houses and, you know, different stuff for the children. So it's a family event.
And so if it was a permanent structure or a permanent, like every weekend, not even a permanent structure, but an every weekend event or a daily event, then we would
Then it would
probably
be-
ask
then I
like
would just
incorporate
do,
parking
like,
and stuff, but
yes.
you know, if it's just
But
seasonal.
you know, like Jessica said, there's gonna be a problem on Murphy, because like for the past 4 or 5 years, you know, where my son Joseph has the property, everybody was using that as a parking for many years,
Right.
for like 4 or 5 years. And it was okay, but we just had a little issue and I had to roll, you know, because they were abusing
Right.
the parking.
Mhm.
You know, they were just taking it, it got to the point they wanted to kick me out of the property. So I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, I was, you know, we've been really nice to let y'all, we're not using it. You're more than happy to park here. We don't have a problem. But when they became ugly and wanted to kick me out, my son couldn't believe it. And I said, no, I have witnesses.
So in these, I have one more question and then, so in these events, these seasonal events, like Cinco de Mayo, Fiesta 1888, what is the expected attendance, like a general, because that's how many people like coming from out of town? How many?
Okay, like, Cinco de Mayo, we have more local and some, it depends. Like on the entertainment, like if you have a band that, okay, we're going to Alpine,
Right,
you know, they're gonna come to Alpine.
yeah,
But it all depends, like the Harvest Festival, you know, the attendance wasn't as high.
Mhm.
But that was a kind of last minute that I did, that festival. So it just depends, you know, right now the people are like, you can have a high number and then low, you never know.
okay,
And it's my observation, having attended a couple of the street dances on Murphy Street, that there are a significant number of people that walk. So
right,
they don't need parking from the neighborhood and
Yes.
really from the hotels along Highway 90. So that certainly parking will be an issue, but
On Murphy
I
Street,
think it's
because now that
reduced by
it's,
people that choose
if they
to,
open up that brewery,
yeah.
then right, it's gonna be between 4th and 3rd Street. It's one block, all the whole block.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what's gonna happen.
It's gonna be a busy
I
part
mean,
of town.
it's gonna, there's even from 7th to Fourth Street, you know, it's busy because now we with the farmer's market. So farmer's market right now, they're parking on the Fielder's parking property now.
And not a complaint from hers, but the people that have the property next to the farmer's market, Jody Cole's office, they put a fence, they started building a fence because of the people parking that lot. So the young lady behind me was kind enough to let people park in front of their property, but when Guy builds, he's not gonna let people park there anymore, and then nobody can park at Jody Cole's, and she wants her space, so all these places are gonna become suffocated of where people are used to parking, so that long-term, we're gonna have a problem.
Well, if I may interject. You know, council just approved sale of the alley to Chisto's Brewing Company, and they did state that they're close to finalizing on land specifically for parking. So I just wanted to throw that in there because they've been big proponents of developing Murphy Street.
Mhm.
And I believe he mentioned that he would allow parking for anybody.
Yeah, which would be great, because we
Right.
Anything else?
When do we get to, the neighbors get to see the plans of what kind of building he's gonna build there?
That's a good question. That'd be
He
more.
hasn't submitted any plans yet.
He hasn't,
No, he
okay,
hasn't submitted anything.
but we'll get a chance to see it, or,
It'll go through planning and zoning and council.
okay, just like we're doing it.
And you would receive a letter if you received one for this one.
Okay.
I have two follow-up questions. You mentioned a plan B. What is the plan B?
Well, then if we're gonna have Cinco de Mayo and we can't have music, then it can't be on Murphy Street.
Where would it be?
Probably we would have to rent the Civic Center for a dance,
I see. That's your plan B?
but, well, yes, I mean, where else are we gonna go? If we can't have loud music, I mean, if you have a band, it's gonna be loud, if you have a DJ, it's gonna be loud. But what happens to when there's music at the Crystal Bar, you can hear it.
Mhm.
I've been around, I've been on my property and you can hear it on Murphy Street from the Crystal Bar till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
So
That's a bar.
how do you work with that?
Yeah, there have been complaints about the Crystal Bar. I didn't make a complaint, but maybe some people that live closer to the Crystal Bar had made some complaints about that.
And that's, I guess, why we have the noise ordinance.
I think that's where that came up.
Yeah,
That,
so that
that's where
should,
it's happening, is becoming a problem with that. Complaints came up with.
right, so there's a time limit or a time, is that?
To cut the music.
There's a curfew, I think.
Mhm. Okay. And then a follow-up. In contrast to a bar like Crystal or somewhere else where it's a normal business, for your venue, how many weeks out of a year do you expect to have an event there?
Probably, let's see. I'm gonna say at least 5 events. But, you know, like the Cinco de Mayo is the one that probably the latest would be 11 o'clock.
Mhm.
And the Fiesta 1888 would probably be midnight, 11 to midnight. And the Harvest Festival, I plan to do it annually now, and that one will probably cut off at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Yes, 7 to 8.
Mhm.
And not this year, but probably next year, you know, I want to have something for Christmas. I just want to build up so there can be stuff going on for the children and
So,
families.
so unlike a bar that's open on the regular days, you see yourself having only 5 annual events? Or do you see yourself developing 10 annual events?
Well, maybe 10,
So,
maybe not as big, it just, you know, just,
and your events are normally one-day fairs, or they
yeah,
a
one
weekend?
day.
One day.
Usually they're one day. And then I just, besides the events, you know, I want to use the property to let, be available to vendors if they want to do daily, weekly, or monthly as well, and the property. we're not gonna have the street closure only if it's a really big event, like Cinco de Mayo is a big event.
Mhm.
That's one of our big events.
So vendors,
So
are
we
you
need
referring
the
to
street closure.
the vendors? You're talking about like food trucks or
Yeah,
people
food
just,
trucks or anything, any kind of vendors.
so like the farmer's market?
Mhm.
So aside from that, you're looking at maybe about 10 events a year.
Maybe, or, I mean, right now, I see 5, but in the future,
Right, so yeah, if there was a location for more events or an event like this, it could possibly,
but you
Well,
know,
yeah,
there's
there's it
gonna
for
be a.
Right.
Like,
But it
the
also,
Fiesta
it is a
1888,
commercial property.
it's
It's
gonna be
commercial.
way bigger than Cinco de Mayo.
Mhm.
This, I mean, for 2022. Just because we're gonna have 2 Tejano artists come to the event, and we will expect a lot of people,
Okay, but again, it'll be a one-day event
one day event, but it'll
Okay.
be till midnight.
till
And
midnight.
it'll be music all day, from like noon to
Mhm.
midnight.
Okay,
Because you have to, you know, when you have events, people come in at different times. They don't just, okay, you have your crowd that comes at noon, they leave, you have your mid-afternoon, then you have your you have your nighttime.
sure, I understand.
So they come throughout the day.
All
But
right.
it will be, it's 2 bands and they will be loud.
Okay,
I mean, not super, super loud, but just like a regular band.
right, but it's one day and there's a definite curfew midnight. It's not like a
Yes,
bar
they-
that's gonna
they
be
will
till
play
2 in the
till
morning or
till
anything.
midnight.
Yeah.
Mhm. No, the music will not be till 2 AM.
Okay,
And
So do
again,
I
I would,
have to bring that before the council? It would before, I mean, I've gotta have that approved before I even like sign a contract to that. Cause I don't wanna sign a contract and then,
So the Planning and Zoning Commission tonight will make a recommendation to city council whether to approve or not approve your permit. And city council will have a separate public hearing on December 7th at 5:30 here to consider the item. So it still needs to go through city council.
yes.
right,
Okay, I've got another question. Besides the events, I mean, can I still have like my vendors? I mean, I wanted it 24/7 just because I'm not gonna be open 24/7. But like I said earlier, if I have a food truck there and we stay open till 2 AM,
Mhm.
you know, if people wanna go get something to eat.
Well, it is a commercial space.
So, I mean, is there gonna be a problem?
There's-
Or,
I don't see-
I mean, where do we stand as far as, like, not doing the event, the big events, but as far as using the property, like a trader's market, you know,
Mhm.
like but we'll have different stuff to sell. If a vendor wants to come to Fort Stockton and sell toys or whatever, I rent them the space and they can sell their stuff. Just like a farmer's market, but they're gonna sell different items. And then, you know, well, sometimes people like to hear music. When they go places, they like to sit down. You know, who doesn't like to hear music? You know, you go to a place, you wanna hear music.
and I will make the observation that any venue, whether it's an indoor bar or an outdoor activity, are bound by the city's noise ordinance. And if that gets exceptionally loud and there's a complaint filed, you know,
Then we
that
have to,
you'll have to turn the volume down.
yes.
So I think there are, there are limits
I
in
mean,
place for that.
what is the difference in this venue? I
Do
don't
you-
understand.
Do you have any issues with it being 24 hours?
Me?
No,
Who, me?
yes.
I'm sorry, I'm sitting right in front of them, so I'm not sure. I should have sat over there. I don't think that there's a problem with being 24 hours. You look at Santana's Taco Place and they're open until, and they're the same zoning. So if she's serving food in a food truck,
Mhm.
I think Santana's open till 2 o'clock in the morning too.
Mhm.
You know, and you have Penny's Diner, which is down the road that is open super late for railroad. And her having a food truck right there with the railroad coming in, people want to get around a bite to eat. I don't think it's a bad idea. So they don't have to shuttle down to
Right.
Pennies if they don't want to. I don't think the food being served there in the food truck is an issue. Obviously, the noise volume and flow is important for safety and, you know, but the TABC has its own regulations, like Gio had said, so they aren't gonna be able to serve alcohol even if they had somebody. It'd be kind of like what happened with Art Walk.
Mhm.
They had their own little station of place where they were serving alcohol. She even has a vendor that does that, which might possibly happen in the future, it may not. I don't think that's her goal. So I don't think that there'd be a problem.
Is there an issue with the city? Do they have an issue with a 24-hour permit?
As far as them having vendors there.
Yeah.
Selling it, no,
No.
there's no restriction.
Okay. Any other questions anyone has?
The respondents were concerned about danger to people that were inebriated. And one thing about this property is it borders the railroad. And I don't know what happens at night with the freights. Do they slow down slow enough that somebody that's drunk and stumbling across the tracks
No,
has a
usually-
chance to get out of the way?
Yeah,
Or are
usually
there
they
freights
do.
going through at 40, 50 miles an hour? Because that is a real thing.
Yeah, usually late at night, I'll see sometimes the trains go a little faster because it's late at night. And when they're like passing through, like if they're just passing straight on through the town, some of them might speed up faster, maybe did their shift go. And it just varies with each train mainly.
Okay.
But we have the railroad blues that sits on the railroad, and you've got Crystal Bar that sits on the railroad.
Sure.
So, I mean, if you compare the two, you have the same
Situation.
concern.
And we
Can there
are,
be an ordinance for the train to go a certain mile per hour through town?
No,
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 can't-
can't
we
enforce
have-
anything like that.
can't do it.
no. They are a force unto themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Anything you'd like to contribute?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your concerns and expressing to us. And thank you for answering our questions. I appreciate it. Okay, so we have a motion to approve this permit. We have had our discussion. Is there anything else board members would like to ask or say in relation to this permit before we vote? No? Okay, so then we had a motion and a second to approve this. All those in favor, please express by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, so then we'll move on to 8 board member comments. Is that right?
I just want to remind everybody that city council will be considering this item on December 7th at 5:30, so it'll be same place.
and that is open to public
It
comment,
is open
just
to
like
public.
tonight.
It'll be a public hearing just like this one, so council will hear any concerns as well.
And the letter will go out.
We already sent the letter. I believe we sent them together.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
okay.
wanted to kind of remind everyone.
Okay.
Okay. Would you like to say anything?
No, I think I'm fine, I think that with the zoning, the commercial zoning, the noise ordinance and the regulations from TABC, that I have confidence that, it will be okay. And so I appreciate it.
Lucy?
But I would encourage y'all, if it is too noisy, too late,
Mhm.
say something, file a complaint. And so that the owners are aware that that's an issue with the neighborhood. And hopefully that will be taken care of for the next event.
I've got a question. Should we, or should I go around the neighborhood and ask, or tell them, okay, I'm gonna have an event this day, is there gonna be a problem? Like, what are the rights that we have? I mean,
Well, you live in a commercial property. You already have that right.
okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it seems like from what I've heard, it seems like you've been a good neighbor in telling
yes,
your,
I do.
people about it, so.
I talk to all the neighbors there, and I contact the other business owners on Murphy and say, this is what's gonna happen, I'm gonna have an event.
Right.
I
And
mean,
you all
I'm
agree
pretty
with
good
that?
About doing that.
Yes, she has always been informing us
Okay,
of what's going to
So
happen
then
and
I-
everything, so.
I always inform them, I will not do anything without not asking the property owners around. I
Right.
will not just go and say, I'm
Mhm.
here, no, I will ask. for
And
sure.
that attitude between neighbors is much better than anything that we or city council
Always.
can do, so.
yeah, so I would
Good for
suggest you
y'all.
continue to do that, definitely.
Yes, just out of respect.
I'm just excited and I hope council does pass it. Since it's something for the family, and that to me is very important because we don't have a lot of things out here.
We don't.
Yeah.
They really, I just want to share that they really did, and it was their first time having the Harvest Festival. And they really did enjoy, I really did see the kids, enjoy the festival.
Okay, well, thank you very much
You're welcome.
for coming. Thank you very much for expressing your concerns. And I hope you were happy with the process. And yeah, we look forward to seeing this thing moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So with that, if there are no other issues or comments, can we move for adjournment?
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, when is our next meeting? We have one in early December.
Yes, Monday, December 6th at 5:30. And